Hey, it's no shortcuts or secrets to get better at the game of basketball. For a lot of people, it's extremely hard, but the good thing is it's also extremely simple. I can almost guarantee you there are a lot of things you're either doing or not doing in your training sessions that are really hindering your progress. So if you want to see yourself take bigger leaps over shorter periods of time, this is the video for you. I call these the 7 deadly sins of basketball training. Let's get into it. So deadly training mistake number 1 is definitely going to have to be going to the gym without a plan. You have to plan your workouts, guys. It doesn't have to be something super complicated with 100 different line items where you're timing down to the millisecond what drills you're going to be working on, because you need to leave room in your workouts for creativity as well as errors and mistakes. But you at bare minimum need to have an outline. It really breaks my heart to see a new player come into my program after me hearing the parents just really kind of at rock bottom because they feel like they're in the gym all the time with their kid and their kid works really hard, but they're just not progressing and they're not really able to translate anything they work on in the game. And this is a really big reason why, because if you don't have a plan, then you don't have any intention. And if you're not training with intention, then it's just not going to translate. Which gets me into deadly training mistake number 2, overtraining. I don't know if you knew this, but you can actually overtrain. Nobody needs to be in the gym for 4 and 5 hours working on their game. It's just pointless. At that point, you're doing more harm than you're helping, especially when we're talking about during season. You're gonna have to practice with your team. You're gonna have the training you do with a trainer or by yourself, plus playing pickup ball. You're going to run your body into the ground. And by the time you hit my age, your knees, your ankles, and your shoulders are going to hate you. Ask me how I know. If you can successfully do 4 hours every day, I promise you, you're not going hard enough. 60 to 90 minutes, an hour to an hour and a half, maybe 2 if there's just some small things that you're struggling with. Max. We don't need to be in the gym any more than that. And for young kids, man, 3 days a week going hard is all you need. Deadly training sin number 3, not incorporating film study. Training doesn't only happen in the gym. You need to be training your mind and your IQ as well. And the easiest way to do that is to watch basketball. I am perplexed at the amount of young kids that come into the program on a monthly basis. And I ask them about how much basketball they watch or when's the last basketball game they've tuned into. No exaggeration, at least 8 out of 10 of them say they don't watch basketball like at all outside of highlights. The highest IQ players, the best players, the most skilled players are basketball players who not just watch and enjoy watching basketball, but they study basketball. When you want to get better at math, you study math. When you want to get better at science, you study science. Well, when you want to get better at basketball, you study the game of basketball too. The bare minimum, you should be watching film on yourself. Speaking of watching things, the next deadly training mistake I see is one that's pretty much sweeping the nation. Copying moves you see from social media. Man, it's nothing inherently wrong with seeing something that looked cool or that worked for another player or athlete and then trying to implement that into your game. Every player has watched players that have come before them and tried to mimic and imitate moves they've done. I remember piling on the bus for every road game, putting in my headphones, pulling up YouTube, and just watching Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade highlights for inspiration. It's nothing wrong with that inherently. But there is something wrong with just copying a move or combo when you have absolutely zero idea how to use this move or when to use the move or even the micro skills that go into doing a certain move. You're gonna be really confused on why this thing that this social media person told you will work every time isn't working, because there's a lot more to it than just the move itself. If I just tell you to go do an in and out spin, there's so many different ways you could do it that are incorrect, and not just incorrect, that would be horrible for a game situation. So what you need to be doing instead of copying the moves is trying to implement the skills that go into doing the moves, which is what I try my best to do here on the channel. Also, shameless plug, if you're not subscribed to the Patreon, you should be. There's a free tier where you'll get videos like this up to a month early, and then there's paid tiers where you'll receive exclusive workouts that won't reach social media, where we really take a real deep dive into those skills that we need to implement, on top of showing you how to implement them on your own in your own workouts. Deadly training sin number 5. Just going to the gym to do drills. The game is not going to be a drill. Your defenders are not going to just be cones. So when you're training and you're setting up your cones, your trash cans, your shoes, whatever tools you're using to train, you need to be visualizing real game moments, real game situations. Cone 1 isn't just a cone. That's your on-ball defender. You get by your on-ball defender. Cone 2 is the help side defense, or cone 2 is your defender reacting to your initial move. You got to really visualize these game situations, because if you just go to the gym every single day and all you do is drills without the visualization aspect of it, then you're probably one of those players who looks really good when they're training and in practice, but aren't able to translate those things you're working on into the game. Look at players like Kyrie Irving and these people who just seem to have this almost like sixth sense when they're on the court, when they're doing these moves. That doesn't come from just doing drills. They work on their creativity constantly. Deadly training sin number 6 is tougher the older you get, but that is training for a role. When we're in the gym working on our game, we don't necessarily only want to train for our role. We have to have a little bit more nuance than that. The younger you are, the more skills you need to be acquiring, like Infinity Stones. You need to be working on your handles, your post footwork, your shooting, your passing, your rebounding, your athletic skills, your quickness, your basketball IQ. All of these things need to be worked on, not just the one thing you do for your team already. When you see players like Patrick Beverley, you think that he's just a defender, but he doesn't just work to be a defender. Patrick Beverley was a dog at the University of Arkansas. He was a bucket getter, a big shot maker. He was electric. And in high school, he was even more electric, averaging over 30 points a game. So yes, in the NBA at the highest level, he's known as more of a defender. He's never averaged over 10 points a game in any season in his NBA career, but he averaged 30 in high school. So maybe your max potential makes you end up being a 3-and-D player. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing you train for. One day I'll make a video explaining your training splits, but just a basic rule of thumb, maybe during the season we work more on the things that we're already good at because we want to stay sharp for the game, and during the post and off-season time, that's when we really want to attack our weaknesses. But anyways, next sin. The 7th and final sin is extremely crucial, and it's one that I see affect players more and more as they start to cross over into the teenage age. Sincerity versus seriousness. In layman's terms, not being sincere with your reps in training. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should be unserious in training. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take your progression seriously, but there's a difference between being sincere and being serious. Maybe you go to the gym and you're not smiling and you're not playing around, you're not laughing, you're not joking around, right? So you're serious, but every rep you take is really lackadaisical. You're not putting your best foot forward. Maybe you're in a shooting slump and you start to drop your shoulders and hold your head, and you start telling yourself things like, man, I can't make a shot. Man, I can't hold on to the ball. I can't dribble today. I can't shoot today. You start telling yourself things like that, and your mind is always going to follow suit with your body. So when you start saying that type of stuff out loud, your body's going to make sure that you're right. So I would much rather a player who is unserious but extremely sincere with the way they train. They go hard on every single rep, no matter what shot they take, no matter if they just miss 10, 15, 20 shots in a row, they're still attacking, they're still going just as hard as they were and just as game-like as they were on shot one. That's the player that's going to see huge quantum leaps. The player that can only go full speed and only give their all when things are going right for them, probably very up and down because everything they do is based on outcome. I encourage any hooper watching this video, if you've been struggling with your confidence, if you've been struggling with maintaining that motivation, to shift your training from being outcome based, like, oh, I'm gonna make this many shots. Start focusing on the input. Maybe you're gonna leave the gym with a certain amount of reps. No matter what, make sure rep 1 to rep 500, every single one is game like. But look, if any part of this video helped you out, even in the slightest, consider giving this video a like, and also, once again, check that Patreon in the description. But anyways, until next time, it's Coach Eddie. This is Nightowl Basketball, and I'm out.